The hospital ceiling tiles had exactly 47 water stains. I had counted them twice during my recovery from gallbladder surgery. The pain medication made time stretch and blur, but my phone stayed sharp in my hand. I needed to pay the electric bill before they shut off power to my house. My fingers felt thick and clumsy as I opened my banking app. The screen loaded slowly, the little circle spinning like it always did. Then the numbers appeared. Balance, $0. I blinked, refreshed the page. Still zero. My savings account, the one I'd built over 32 years of teaching middle school students, was completely empty. $78,000. Gone. My hand started shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. A nurse walked in to check my vitals and noticed my face. "Mrs. Anderson, are you okay? Your heart rate just spiked." I couldn't form words. I just showed her the screen. She leaned closer, squinting at the numbers. "Oh, honey, that can't be right. Banks make mistakes sometimes." But I knew it wasn't a mistake. Deep in my gut, I already knew. "Your son called earlier," she said gently. "He said he was handling your finances while you recovered. Such a thoughtful boy." My son, Brandon, answered on the third ring. His voice was casual, almost bored, like I'd interrupted him watching television. "Hey, Mom, how are you feeling?" My throat felt tight. "Brandon, my bank account is empty. All of it. $78,000 is gone." Silence. Then a small laugh. "Oh, that. Yeah, I moved the money for safekeeping. You know, while you're in the hospital. Didn't want anything to happen to it." "Moved it where?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "Somewhere secure. Don't worry about it." In the background, I heard a woman's voice. His wife, Vanessa, laughing about something. The sound felt like glass in my ears. "Brandon, I need to access that money. I have bills to pay. The mortgage is due in 5 days." "Mom, you're being paranoid. The money's fine. I'm handling everything." "Then tell me which account you moved it to." Another pause. "I don't think you're in the right headspace to discuss finances right now. You just had surgery. You're probably still foggy from the medication." "Brandon, that's my money. I need to know where it is." "I'll call you later when you're feeling better." The line went dead. He'd hung up on me. The next morning, I called the bank the moment they opened. My hand still shook as I held the phone, but my head was clearer now. The medication had worn off during a sleepless night. A manager named Patricia took my call after I explained the situation. "Mrs. Anderson, I'm looking at your account history now. There was a full withdrawal made 2 days ago. The authorization came through with your medical PIN code." "I never authorized that." "The system shows the PIN was entered correctly. The withdrawal was processed in person at our downtown branch." My chest tightened. "Can you tell me who made the withdrawal?" She hesitated. "According to our records, it was your son, Brandon Anderson. He had your debit card and provided correct identification." I closed my eyes. "Can I see security footage?" "We can request that for you. Let me pull it up now." After a few minutes, she came back on the line, her voice different now. "Careful. Mrs. Anderson, I'm looking at the footage. Your son is clearly visible at the teller window. He's smiling. The teller remembers him because he seemed very happy about something." "There's more, isn't there?" I asked quietly. "Yes, ma'am. I think you need to come in." Patricia met me in a private office the day after I was discharged. My incision still hurt when I moved too quickly, but I'd checked myself out against doctor's orders. I needed answers more than I needed rest. She slid a folder across the desk. "Mrs. Anderson, 3 days ago, there was an online transfer of your property deed. Your house at 847 Maple Street was transferred into your son's name." The words didn't make sense at first. How is that possible? "Your county allows electronic deed transfers with proper documentation. Someone used your information to file the paperwork online. The transfer was approved and recorded, but I never signed anything. The signature on file appears to be electronic. It's very difficult to verify authenticity with digital signatures. I stared at the papers in front of me. My house, the home I'd lived in for 26 years, the place where I'd raised Brandon after his father left, where I'd packed his lunches and helped with his homework and taught him right from wrong. He'd stolen it. This wasn't impulsive, I said slowly. He planned this. Patricia nodded. Based on the timeline, yes. The deed transfer happened first, then the bank withdrawal. He knew exactly what he was doing. That evening, I tried to FaceTime Brandon. He didn't answer the first 3 calls, but on the 4th, his face appeared on my screen. He was sitting on a leather couch I didn't recognize. Behind him, I could see expensive-looking artwork on the walls. What, Mom? His tone was flat, annoyed. I want my money back, Brandon. And my house deed. He sighed like I was being difficult about something trivial. Look, I know you're upset, but you need to understand something. You weren't going to live long anyway. The words hit me like a physical blow. What did you say? You're 64. You have high blood pressure, diabetes. You just had major surgery. Vanessa and we needed a fresh start. We have debt. We have plans. You would have just left everything to me eventually anyway. I just moved up the timeline. Vanessa's face appeared behind him, perfectly made up, smiling. We're looking at houses in Florida, actually. The real estate market there is amazing right now. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Brandon, I'm your mother. And I'm being practical. You should be proud of me for that. You always said I needed to be more financially responsible. He reached forward, and the screen went black. He'd blocked my number. I stood in the hospital parking lot with nowhere to go. The house I'd lived in for over 2 decades legally belonged to my son now. My bank account was empty. I had $300 in my wallet and a credit card with a $2,000 limit. Everything else was gone. My friend Claire picked me up after I called her crying. She drove me to her apartment without asking questions, just held my hand while I tried to explain what had happened. You're staying with me, she said firmly, as long as you need. That night, lying on her couch, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I'd worked summer jobs to pay for Brandon's college textbooks, how I'd taken out a second mortgage to help him start his first business, the one that failed within a year, how I'd always believed he'd turned out to be a good man despite his father's absence. Around midnight, I opened Instagram on my phone. Brandon had posted a photo 3 hours ago. Him and Vanessa at an expensive restaurant, champagne glasses raised, smiling. The caption read, "New beginnings. Finally getting what we deserve." The comments were full of congratulations from people who had no idea what he'd done. I felt something shift inside me then. Not sadness anymore. Something colder. Something that felt like steel. Claire's lawyer friend, Anthony Briggs, met me at a coffee shop 2 days later. He'd agreed to look at my situation as a favor. I expected him to tell me I had no options, that my son had outmaneuvered me legally. Instead, he smiled when he finished reading through my documents. Mrs. Anderson, when did you set up your family trust? I'd almost forgotten about it. 12 years ago. My financial advisor said it would help with estate planning. Did you review the terms recently? No, I haven't thought about it in years. He pulled out his laptop and opened a file. Your accounts, including your checking and savings, are part of a revocable family trust you established in 2012. According to these documents, your son is listed as a beneficiary, but only after your death. During your lifetime, you maintain full control. My heart started beating faster, but he emptied my bank account. Illegally, he had access to your debit card and PIN, but that doesn't give him legal authority to transfer trust assets. The trust structure supersedes his access. What does that mean? Anthony leaned forward. It means you still have leverage. More than you realize. He flipped through several pages, pointing to specific clauses. Your trust includes a provision I don't see often. A protective clause triggered by elder abuse or fraud. Anthony explained the clause carefully, making sure I understood every word. If someone listed as a beneficiary attempts to steal from or defraud the trust creator, all assets immediately freeze and revert to you. The beneficiary is permanently removed. Brandon stole $78,000 and my house. Exactly, which means we can trigger the clause. But we need proof. The bank has security footage, records of the withdrawal. That proves he took the money. We need evidence he did it knowing it was illegal, that he intended to defraud you. I thought about that last FaceTime call, the casual cruelty in his voice. You weren't going to live long anyway. How do we get that evidence? Anthony's expression was serious. We need him to say it again. On record. Are you willing to do something difficult? I thought about Brandon's Instagram post, the champagne, the smile, the comments from people who thought he was celebrating a legitimate success. What do I need to do? We need a recording of him admitting what he did and why he did it, admitting he knew you were alive and planned to keep the money anyway. He blocked my number. He didn't block Claire's. I looked at my friend. She nodded immediately. I'll do it. Claire made the call 3 days later. Anthony set up recording equipment in her living room. Everything legal and documented. She put her phone on speaker and dialed Brandon's number. He answered on the second ring. Hey Claire, what's up? His voice was friendly, unsuspecting. Brandon, I need to talk to you about your mom. A pause. What about her? She's staying with me. She's devastated. I'm worried about her health. She's being dramatic. The money's in good hands. But Brandon, it was her life savings. She has bills to pay. He laughed. It was the sound that convinced me I was doing the right thing. Claire, let me explain something. My mom's 64. She has health issues. She wasn't going to need that money for much longer anyway. Vanessa and we needed it now. We have opportunities. We're young. We can actually use it. So you're just keeping it. I beat the system, Claire. I had her debit card, her PIN. I knew the trust wouldn't protect the money if I moved fast enough. I'm not giving it back. What if she takes legal action? With what money? I cleaned her out. She can't afford a lawyer. By the time she figures out what to do, Vanessa and I will be in Florida with a new house and a fresh start. That seems cruel, Brandon. His voice hardened. She's already dead. She just doesn't know it yet. Claire's hand trembled as she ended the call. We didn't confront him. That was the hardest part. Every instinct screamed to call him, to send him the recording, to let him know he'd been caught. Anthony insisted we wait. Let him feel safe. Let him spend. Every dollar he spends is more evidence of intent. So we watched. Through social media, through credit card records, Claire helped me access legally with power of attorney documents I'd signed. We tracked his spending. $5,000 on furniture, $8,000 on a car down payment, $12,000 on a vacation deposit to the Bahamas. Meanwhile, Anthony filed paperwork quietly. A petition to trigger the trust's fraud clause, a request for emergency asset freeze, a motion for full forensic counting. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. Judge Helen Carr would hear the case in private chambers, standard procedure for elder abuse claims. What happens if we win? I asked Anthony the night before the hearing. All assets freeze immediately. Bank accounts, property transfers, everything. The money comes back to you. Brandon loses all beneficiary rights permanently. And if we lose, we file criminal charges and start over. But we won't lose. We have his confession on tape. The next morning, Judge Carr reviewed our evidence for 40 minutes without speaking. Then she signed the order. Brandon's card declined at exactly 6:15 in the evening. I know because Anthony's phone rang 5 minutes later with confirmation from the bank. The freeze had activated. According to the bank's security protocols, when an account gets flagged for fraud investigation, all cards stop working immediately. No warning, no grace period, just denial. I imagined him at the restaurant, probably somewhere expensive based on his recent spending habits. Imagine the waiter's uncomfortable expression, the other diners glancing over, Vanessa's face going red. He'd try his backup card. Declined. His credit card. Declined. Everything frozen. Claire's phone rang at 6:42. Brandon's number flashed on the screen. She let it go to voicemail. He called back immediately. Then again. And again. At 7:15, my new phone rang. The number I'd gotten after being discharged, the one he didn't have. Somehow he'd gotten it. Maybe from the hospital records. Maybe he'd called Claire and demanded it. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Brandon. What did you do? His voice was pure panic. What are you talking about? My accounts are frozen. All of them. The bank says there's a legal hold. They mentioned your name. Oh, that. I kept my voice calm. You should check your trust beneficiary status. Silence on the other end. I could hear him breathing hard. Then, what are you talking about? The family trust. The one I set up 12 years ago. The one that actually controls the bank accounts you emptied. You can't do this. That money's mine now. No, Brandon. It was never yours. You stole it. The trust has a clause about fraud and elder abuse. Congratulations, you triggered it. You're lying. I heard Vanessa in the background, her voice shrill. What's happening? Why aren't the cards working? I have a recording, I said quietly, of you telling Claire how you beat the system, how I'm basically already dead, how you planned everything. The breathing stopped. You recorded me? Claire did, with her lawyer present. Everything legal and admissible in court. You can't use that. I didn't know I was being recorded. Michigan is a one-party consent state, Brandon. Claire consented. That's all we needed. He started yelling then, screaming about how this was illegal, how I was manipulating the system, how I was a terrible mother for doing this to my own son. I waited until he ran out of breath. I'll sue you, he finally gasped. I'll take you to court. I'll fight this. You can try. I hung up. Brandon filed an emergency injunction the next morning. His lawyer argued the asset freeze was premature, that there'd been a misunderstanding, that Brandon was simply helping his elderly mother manage her finances during a health crisis. Judge Carr listened to the arguments for 20 minutes. Then she played the recording. Brandon's voice filled the courtroom. She's already dead. She just doesn't know it yet. The judge's expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted. Motion denied, she said. The asset freeze stands pending full investigation. Given the evidence of potential elder exploitation, I'm also ordering a forensic audit of all accounts and property transfers. Brandon's lawyer tried to argue, but Carr cut him off. Counselor, your client admitted on tape to deliberately stealing from his mother while she was hospitalized. He expressed clear intent to defraud. This court takes elder abuse very seriously. That evening, Vanessa left him. Not permanently, just temporarily, her social media said. She went to stay with her sister, taking their dog and most of their shared belongings. The post said she needed space to process everything. The comments were less sympathetic than before. Someone had leaked the story to a local Facebook group. People Brandon had gone to high school with were sharing it, expressing shock. A few defended him. Most didn't. The house became the next problem. Brandon had listed it for sale 3 days after transferring the deed. He'd already accepted an offer, $450,000, with closing scheduled in 2 weeks. The buyers were a young couple expecting their first child. They'd put down earnest money, signed contracts, started packing. Anthony filed an emergency motion declaring the deed transfer fraudulent. The title company froze the sale immediately. The buyer's lawyer called, furious. Our clients are victims here too, she argued. They had no way of knowing the seller didn't legitimately own the property. Your clients will get their earnest money back, Anthony replied. The sale cannot proceed. The deed was obtained through fraud. The buyers pulled out that afternoon. They left a 1-star review on Brandon's Facebook business page, detailing the entire situation. More people shared it. By evening, Brandon had been served eviction paperwork. He had 30 days to vacate the property he'd tried to steal, but he'd already quit his job, thinking he had enough money to coast while job hunting in Florida. Now he had no income and no house. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I just felt tired. When the doorbell rang at Claire's apartment that night, I already knew who it would be. Brandon stood in the hallway, and I barely recognized him. His hair was uncombed. His eyes were red. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks. Mom, please. I didn't open the door beyond the chain lock. Please what? I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I just need you to drop this. Stop the legal stuff. We can work this out. Work what out, Brandon? I'll pay you back. I promise. I'll get a job. I'll make payments. With what money? You spent $70,000 in 2 weeks. His voice cracked. Vanessa made me do it. She kept saying we deserved better, that you were old and wouldn't need it. I was weak. I let her convince me. Don't blame your wife for your choices. Mom, please. I'm about to lose everything. You already lost everything. The moment you decided stealing from your mother was acceptable. I'll go to jail if you don't drop this. Maybe you should. He started crying then. Full, ugly sobs. Part of me wanted to open the door, wanted to hold him like I did when he was 8 and fell off his bike, like I did when he was 16 and his first girlfriend broke his heart. But then I remembered his voice on that recording. She's already dead. She just doesn't know it yet. I can't help you, Brandon. Mom, I'm begging you. You should have thought about that before. I closed the door. The district attorney opened a formal case 2 days later. 3 charges: fraud, elder abuse, and forgery. The forgery charge came from the electronic signature on the deed transfer. Anthony had hired a handwriting expert who confirmed the signature was digitally created, not authentic. The DA, a woman named Patricia Wells, called me to discuss the case. Mrs. Anderson, I want you to understand what moving forward means. This will become public. Your son will be arrested. There will be a trial. I understand. You can still decline to press charges. We can pursue civil remedies instead. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about Brandon as a child before his father left. Before money became more important than family. What happens if I decline? He keeps the criminal record from the fraud findings, but avoids jail time. You'd pursue the money in civil court. It could take years. And if I press charges, he'll likely face probation, possibly jail time depending on the judge. Full restitution will be ordered. His record will be permanent. I closed my eyes. Press charges. The arrest happened at 7 in the morning. I wasn't there, but Claire showed me the local news report that afternoon. Brandon in handcuffs, being led to a police car. His face was turned away from the cameras, but I could see his shoulders shaking. The story hit the local news that evening. Local man arrested for elder abuse. They didn't use my name, just referred to me as his 64-year-old mother. But they used Brandon's name, showed his photo, detailed the charges. By morning, it had spread to social media. Someone created a hashtag. People who knew Brandon from high school, from college, from his brief time at various jobs, all commented. Most expressed shock. Some said they'd always known something was off about him. His employer, a marketing firm downtown, released a statement. We were unaware of the charges. Brandon Anderson has been suspended pending the outcome of his legal proceedings. Not fired. Suspended. They were protecting themselves legally. But the damage was done. His LinkedIn profile disappeared. His Instagram went private. The comments on Vanessa's posts turned vicious. People called her complicit, called her a gold digger, asked how she could stay with someone who'd rob his own mother. She posted a long statement about being deceived, about not knowing the full story, about being a victim herself. I don't know if anyone believed her. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting interviews. Friends from my teaching years expressing support. Former students who'd heard the news and wanted to check on me. I ignored most of it. Then my phone rang from the county jail. I accepted the collect call. Brandon's voice was small, defeated. Nothing like the confident tone he'd used when explaining how he'd beaten the system. "Mom, I need you to drop the charges." "No. Please. I'm your son. You can't do this to me." "You did this to yourself, Brandon." "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was stupid and selfish and wrong. But I'm still your son. Doesn't that mean anything?" "You stopped being my son when you emptied my life savings while I was recovering from surgery." "Don't say that." "You said I was basically already dead. You said I wouldn't need the money much longer. You planned this while I was lying in a hospital bed." "I was angry. I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did. And now you're facing consequences. They're talking about 6 months in jail, maybe more. My lawyer says the elder abuse charge carries serious time." "Then you should have thought about that before." "I'll lose everything. My career, my reputation, my marriage. I lost everything when you stole from me. The difference is I didn't deserve it. Please, Mom, please." His voice broke completely. "I can't help you, Brandon. I won't." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from weakness this time. The court hearing took place on a cold Tuesday morning in November. Judge Helen Carr presided again, this time in open court. Brandon sat with his lawyer at one table. I sat with Anthony at another. Vanessa wasn't there. The proceedings were straightforward. Anthony presented the evidence. The recording, the bank records, the timeline of theft, the forged deed transfer. Brandon's lawyer tried to argue diminished capacity, claimed Brandon had been under extreme financial stress, suggested this was a family misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Judge Carr wasn't buying it. "Mr. Anderson," she said, looking directly at my son, "you stole $78,000 from your mother while she was hospitalized. You transferred her house into your name without permission. You then admitted on record that you did this because you believed she would die soon and you wanted the money now. Is that accurate?" Brandon's lawyer whispered something to him. He nodded slowly. "Yes, Your Honor." The trust clause is clear. In cases of fraud or elder abuse by a beneficiary, all assets revert to the trust creator, and the beneficiary is permanently removed. I'm enforcing that clause. All funds are returned to Mrs. Anderson. The property deed is invalidated. Brandon Anderson is removed from any and all trust benefits, current and future. She paused. "Furthermore, I'm ordering full restitution of any money already spent." The criminal sentencing came 2 weeks later. The DA and Brandon's lawyer had worked out a plea deal. No jail time, but 5 years probation. Full restitution of the $78,000 paid in monthly installments. 500 hours of community service. Mandatory counseling for gambling and financial addiction, even though gambling wasn't the issue. The system's way of addressing underlying problems. Brandon stood to hear the sentence. He looked thinner than I remembered. Older. "Mr. Anderson," Judge Carr said, "you've been given an opportunity many defendants don't receive. Your mother could have pushed for maximum sentencing. She didn't. Use this time wisely." He nodded without speaking. As the court adjourned, I saw Vanessa in the back row. She'd filed for divorce 3 days earlier. The paperwork was public record. She was asking for half of everything they owned, which amounted to very little now. Their apartment lease was in both names, but they were behind on rent. The car had been repossessed. Their credit cards were maxed out from the brief spending spree. She'd hired a lawyer who specialized in quick divorces. The whole thing would be final in 6 months. Brandon would walk away with nothing except debt and a criminal record. I should have felt vindication. Instead, I just felt empty. 6 months later, I drove past Brandon's new address. He'd moved into a rented room in a house on the east side. $400 a month. Shared bathroom. No kitchen access beyond hot plate. His car was gone. Repossessed 3 months earlier. He took the bus to his new job at a call center downtown. I knew this because Claire still had mutual friends who updated her. He worked the evening shift, handling customer complaints for an insurance company. $8 an hour. They'd hired him despite his record because they were desperate for workers. No one wanted the evening shift. Most of his paycheck went to restitution payments. $500 a month, every month, for the next 13 years, unless he could pay it off faster. The counselor's report, which Anthony obtained through legal channels, said Brandon was compliant but emotionally withdrawn. He attended his sessions, did his community service at a food bank on weekends, followed the rules, but he didn't engage, didn't participate beyond the minimum required. The counselor wrote, "Client expresses remorse but appears to be focused on completion of requirements rather than genuine rehabilitation." I wondered what genuine rehabilitation would even look like. What would it take for Brandon to become someone different from the person who'd stolen from his own mother? I didn't know. I wasn't sure I cared anymore. A letter arrived at Claire's apartment in late spring. Handwritten. Brandon's familiar script, though shakier than I remembered. I almost threw it away without reading. Then I opened it. "Mom, I know you probably won't read this. I know I don't deserve for you to, but I need to say it anyway. I was wrong. Not just wrong because I got caught. Wrong because of what I did. I stole from you. I planned it. I thought I was smarter than everyone else. I thought I deserved your money more than you did because I was younger. I thought you'd die soon anyway and it wouldn't matter. I was disgusting. I was cruel. I was everything you raised me not to be. I don't know when I became this person. Maybe when Dad left. Maybe before that. Maybe I was always capable of this, and it just took the right circumstances to bring it out. Vanessa's gone. The house is gone. The money's gone. My friends are gone. Everything's gone except the person I have to be every day, and I hate him. I hate who I became. I'm writing this because my counselor said I should. She said real change starts with admitting the truth. Not just to you, but to myself. So here's the truth. I destroyed my life trying to steal yours. And I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and didn't respond. I moved into a smaller house that summer. 2 bedrooms instead of 4. A smaller yard. Lower mortgage. The house on Maple Street held too many memories, both good and bad. I sold it to a nice family with 3 kids. Used part of the money to set up a new trust. This one was simpler. No beneficiaries except charities I selected. When I died, everything would go to organizations fighting elder abuse. The local senior center, legal aid societies, advocacy groups, people who protected others from people like my son. I kept enough to live comfortably, enough to travel a little, something I'd never done, enough to feel secure. The rest would help people who needed it more than I did. My health improved. The stress of fighting Brandon, of wondering if I'd be homeless, of feeling betrayed, all of it had taken a physical toll. My blood pressure dropped. My diabetes stabilized. My doctor said I looked 10 years younger. "Whatever you changed," she said, "keep doing it." What I'd changed was simple. I'd stopped letting someone else's bad choices control my life. I'd stopped sacrificing my well-being for someone who didn't value it. I'd chosen myself. For the first time in decades, I'd chosen myself. 9 months after the sentencing, my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then something made me pick up. "Thank you for calling Midwest Insurance Services. My name is Brandon. How can I help you today?" I froze. The call center. His job. I'd been randomly routed to him. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing. "Mom." His voice was barely a whisper. I should have hung up. Should have asked for a different representative. Instead, I said, "I'm calling about my homeowner's policy. I need to update my address." Another pause. "Of course. I can help you with that." His voice was professional now. Careful. He took down my new address, my phone number, the effective date of the change. All business. No personal comments. No begging. No excuses. When we finished, he said, "Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "No. That's all. Thank you for calling. Have a great day." Just before I hung up, I heard him say quietly, "I'm glad you're okay, Mom." I ended the call without responding, but something in my chest loosened just slightly. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just acknowledgement that he was still alive somewhere, doing something, trying to be something other than the person who destroyed us both. I live alone now, and I'm not lonely. There's a difference. I have friends. I volunteer at the library twice a week, reading to elementary school kids. I joined a book club, started taking watercolor painting classes, small things that make life feel full instead of empty. People ask sometimes if I regret what I did, if I wish I'd forgiven Brandon, dropped the charges, given him another chance. I tell them the truth. I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret enforcing consequences. I don't regret choosing dignity over guilt. Brandon made his choices. I made mine. Sometimes at night, I think about that letter he sent, the one I never answered. I wonder if he meant it, if he really changed, or if he just learned to say the right words. I'll probably never know. We haven't spoken since that accidental phone call. I don't think we ever will again. And that's okay, because I learned something important through all of this. Justice isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's simpler than that. Sometimes justice is just refusing to let anyone, even your own child, steal your dignity. It's choosing self-respect over guilt. It's building a life that belongs to you, protected from people who would take it away. I'm still grieving my son, the boy he was, the man I hoped he'd become. But I'm proud of the woman I chose to be when it mattered most. Before I go, tell me, where are you reading this from? Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and protecting someone who hurt you? Drop a comment. And if this story meant something to you, share it. Because sometimes people need to know that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival.